Welcome to Housekeepers Half Hour. This is a reproduction of a radio show that was broadcasted by the United States Department of Agriculture in 1926. Disclaimer: do not assume contents of this production reflect current scientific knowledge, policies, or practices. This broadcast was released and aired March 25th, 1926.
Again, we must decide the question, what shall we have for dinner? A few more Lenten menus are appropriate. For this week, creamed Finnan Haddie with hard-cooked eggs will be a pleasant change. It may be preceded by vegetable soup if you like. As Finnan Haddie, or haddock, is both smoked and salted, it keeps for some length of time and is consequently obtained inland as well as near the sea coast. If the dealer will sell you half a haddie, it is better to buy half a good-sized plump fish than to take a whole haddock that is thin and small. The flesh in the former case is in more desirable flakes, and the few bones will be easier to find and remove. The fish may need to be freshened. It is then simmered, picked from the bones and creamed. In buying, allow about half a pound of fish for each person to be served. While the fish is being prepared, hard cook your eggs, allow from a half to a whole egg for each person. Then make your sauce. Detailed directions will follow for preparing the entire dish. If you cannot get Finnan Haddie, dried codfish could of course be used in its place. Plain boiled potatoes put through a ricer will be very good with this creamed fish and eggs. If you have no ricer, mash the potatoes. Baked potatoes would be good too, but at this season, and particularly this year when the potato crop was short, it is rather difficult to find old potatoes of regular enough size and shape for baking. For ricing, you can use imperfect ones of any size and shape. There are also new potatoes in the large markets, and they are a real spring delicacy when boiled whole and served with melted butter and minced parsley. We are suggesting a blend of greens for the second vegetable in today's menu. The flavor of a blend of greens is sometimes better liked than one kind alone. Also, when the first spring greens come, it is not always easy to get enough of one kind to serve to a large household. Spinach, kale, and dandelion greens make a particularly good combination. To conserve the mineral constituents and the vitamins for which greens are important, in the diet they should be cooked the shortest possible time, and with only a little water, or none at all, except what clings to the leaves. They may be cooked in the customary way in a saucepan, then chopped and seasoned with butter, or they may be panned in a heavy skillet. If you use the latter method, cut and chop the greens into short lengths first, then melt butter in a heavy skillet, allowing about 1 tablespoonful to each quart of greens. Put the greens into this and cook them for 3 to 5 minutes, stirring constantly. Add salt and pepper just before serving. The flavor of the dandelion greens, which some persons find too pronounced when they are cooked alone, blends with the others and makes this combination very appetizing. Mustard, turnip greens, cabbage sprouts, or any other local favorites may be used in such combinations. Grapefruit is in season just now, and so a grapefruit salad may be selected to follow the Finnan Haddie. French dressing is to many tastes the most appropriate for use on such a dinner salad. French dressing has the added advantage that it is quick and easy to make. Mayonnaise also combines well with grapefruit. In a few minutes, we will tell you how to make both kinds so that you can suit your own preferences. If you are in a hurry, cut the grapefruit in halves and scoop out the pulp with a spoon. If you can take a little more time, a more attractive salad can be made by first peeling the grapefruit, then pulling the sections apart, just as you would those of an orange, and skinning each piece separately. If you are using French dressing, a few nut meats are good sprinkled over the fruit after the dressing has been poured on. 2 or 3 strips of pimento laid on the top of each salad adds a decorative touch. If you do not wish to end your dinner with grapefruit salad, rhubarb or lemon pie would be a good substitute for it. After the smoked flavor of the Finnan Haddie, you need a tart salad or dessert with which to top off. The entire menu is Dreamed Finnan Haddie with hard-cooked eggs, riced potatoes, blend of spring greens, grapefruit salad with French dressing, or rhubarb or lemon pie. Today's best recipes from the United States Department of Agriculture. Are you ready to take down the recipes? We'll begin with the Creamed Finnan Haddie. For a family of 5, you will need about 2.5 pounds of haddie. I'll cut the fish into 2 or 3 large pieces so that it will fit conveniently into a saucepan. The amount of cooking that the Finnan Haddie will need depends on how salty and dry it is. If it seems very salty and somewhat hard, it may need to be brought slowly to the boiling point in water. This drained off and then cooked for 15 to 20 minutes in a second water. If the haddie is moist and not very salty, it can be cooked entirely in one water and will then be tender so that the bones can be picked out and the meat separated into flakes. In the meantime, cook the eggs. 3 or K will be sufficient to use with 2.5 pounds of haddie. Put them into cold water, bring to the boiling point, and keep them on the back of the stove or in a double boiler for 30 to 40 minutes. Plunge into cold water so that the shells can be peeled off easily. Slice or cut up the eggs after the shells are removed. Make a white or cream sauce in the following proportions: 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of flour, 1 cup of milk, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a little pepper if you like. Melt the butter, stir in the flour, and add the milk slowly. Cook until smooth and creamy. You will probably need to double this amount if you have fish enough for 5 or 6 persons. Into this sauce, stir the flakes of fish and the sliced eggs. In adding the eggs, be careful so that the yolks do not separate from the whites. Reheat a minute or 2 and serve. Now for the salad dressing. For French or oil and vinegar dressing, use these proportions and make any amount you need. 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a few grains of cayenne, paprika if desired, 2 tablespoons of vinegar, 6 tablespoons of oil. An old cookbook used to say that French dressing required a spendthrift for oil, a miser for vinegar, and a madman to stir it up. At any rate, add vinegar sparingly, and beat the ingredients together until they are well blended. If you have a cruet or other bottle with a tight stopper, you can keep French dressing on hand all the time, simply shaking the bottle vigorously when ready to use the dressing. There is little difficulty in making a good mayonnaise that does not separate if the ingredients and bowl are cold and the oil is added very slowly at first, only a few drops at a time. Begin by measuring out the oil and vinegar in cups, or better still small pitchers from which you can pour them easily and carefully. You will need 1 cup of oil and 2 tablespoons of vinegar, or lemon juice, or both mixed together. Pat an egg yolk in a cold bowl and beat it with a Dover or rotary egg beater until it is slightly thick. Add 1 tablespoon of sugar, a 1/2 teaspoon of mustard, a few grains of cayenne, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Some people add the salt last, believing that this prevents curdling or separating. Mix these dry ingredients well and start adding the oil drop by drop, beating it in, then adding increasingly larger amounts, but always with care not to add too much at a time. When the mixture is quite stiff and thick, and about 1/3 of the oil has been added, thin with a little of the vinegar and lemon, but do not add much at a time. Continue adding oil and vinegar alternately until all of each has been used. A single egg yolk can be used as a starter for double these amounts of oil and acid, but the seasonings must be increased proportionately. Keep the dressing in a covered jar in a cold place, but do not allow it to freeze. If the dressing should separate while you are making it, you can start with another egg yolk in a fresh bowl and add the unsuccessful dressing little by little as at first until it is all worked in. Fresh oil and vinegar can then be added to make a large amount of dressing. Mayonnaise soon liquefies when put on meat, fruit, or vegetables, so it should not be added to the salad until serving time. If you have on hand some sour cream, you may prefer to make a cooked dressing. A good method is as follows. Beat an egg very light and add to it 1/4 teaspoon of mustard, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of paprika pepper, half a tablespoon of sugar, quarter cup of vinegar, and 1 cup of sour cream. Mix well and cook in a double boiler, stirring constantly until thick and smooth. If this dressing has any tendency to separate, strain it before cooling. An unusual cooked dressing suitable for Lenten menus has cottage cheese added to it. These are the ingredients: quarter tablespoon mustard, 1/4 tablespoon salt, 2 tablespoons flour, 1 tablespoon sugar, 3/4 cup sweet milk, 4 tablespoons cottage cheese, 1/8 teaspoon of soda, 2 eggs, 2 tablespoons butter, and ½ cup vinegar, and 1/8 teaspoon cayenne pepper. Rub the dry ingredients together and add egg yolks slightly beaten. Add melted butter, cold milk, and hot vinegar in the order named, stirring until perfectly smooth. Cook the mixture in a double boiler until thickened. To the stiffly beaten whites of eggs add 4 tablespoons of cottage cheese, which has first been neutralized with soda, and fold the mixture into the cocked dressing. Set the pan into a bowl of cold water and beat well until cool and smooth. Any one of these 4 dressings would be good with your grapefruit salad. Questions women are asking. The Home Economics Bureau of the United States Department of Agriculture. Please send your questions to this station and they will be referred to the Home Economics Bureau for answering on the Home Economics program. Today, instead, write your comments and questions below. Question: what does grapefruit contain that makes it a valuable food? Answer: grapefruit is a good source of at least 2 vitamins, those called B and C, which help to prevent certain so-called deficiency diseases. The pleasant aromatic odor of grapefruit also literally makes the mouth water, or in other words, starts the flow of digestive juices, and the acid that gives the tart flavor helps the food to move through the digestive tract in a healthy way. Question: when is the best time to put eggs into water glass for home use? Answer: March and April are the 2 best months for putting up eggs for home use. Eggs are then of best quality and are lowest in price. If eggs are preserved later than this, infertile ones should, if possible, be chosen. Question: what is a reliable home method of preserving eggs? Answer: a good method of preserving eggs is to put them in a clean stone crock and cover them with a solution of so-called water glass. The concentrated water glass solution may be bought at the drugstore. 1 part of this should be mixed with 9 parts water, which has been boiled and cooled. Stir this mixture well and pour it over the eggs. Question: are the leaf stalks or leaves around the head of cauliflower good for cooking? Answer: carefully trimmed and cut into short pieces, the leaf stalks make a very palatable dish as to the leaves. If the quantity available is not sufficient to cook and serve separately, the leaves and stalks boiled until tender and seasoned can be served as a garnish along with the head of the cauliflower. An English custom is to cook a small cauliflower without trimming off leaves and stalks if they are in good condition. Question: what are some good fabrics for summer curtains? Answer: tub-fast, light-fast fabrics are the best for summer curtains. If the furnishings of the house are simple, inexpensive materials such as unbleached muslin, crepe, gingham, English prints, and cheesecloth are suitable. Linen, either dyed or in natural colors, cretonnes and chintzes in various colors and patterns are also appropriate, and the good qualities of these fabrics go well even with fine mahogany and walnut furniture. Question: jelly glasses, drinking glasses, and fruit jars frequently become chipped. How can this be remedied? Answer: not only are chipped edges unpleasant, but they also afford a lodging for microorganisms and not infrequently for soap used in washing. The chipped places on the edges of tumblers and other glass articles can be made smooth by rubbing down with fine emery paper or with fine sandpaper if the emery is not available to avoid breathing the glass dust. One should tie a dampened cloth over the nose and mouth. Such repair as this is quite commonly carried out where food is sold and served in quantities, emery wheels instead of emery paper being used to smooth down the chipped and broken edges. In this case, too, precautions should be taken to avoid breathing the glass dust. Well, this concludes this broadcasting of Housekeepers Half Hour. I'm your host, Aunt Sammy. If you did indeed enjoy this broadcast, please consider listening to any of our other broadcasts. New shows are to be put out every week for new education and your listening pleasure. Until next time, remember to keep it tidy.
This production was researched and produced by BreakAway Empire LLC.